Has someone you love started showing subtle but concerning changes over the past year? Many people assume that death and old age happen suddenly, but the truth is that the body often sends quiet warnings, sometimes months, even a year before life reaches its final stage. The problem is that most people miss these signs because they seem small at first. It's only later, looking back, that families realize the clues were there all along. But by then it's too late to prepare, too late to make those last memories count. In this video, we're going to talk about 6 key signs that often appear a year before an elderly person passes away. Some of them might be things you've noticed but brushed off as just aging. Others might be changes that seem minor but actually signal the body's gradual decline. Recognizing these signs early gives you the opportunity to provide better care, cherish meaningful moments, and most importantly, ensure that your loved one's final stage of life is filled with comfort, dignity, and peace. Stay with us until the end because these 6 signs can help you prepare emotionally and practically for what's ahead. When you understand what's happening, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be able to make the most of the time you have left with those you love. Before we begin, I'd really appreciate it if you like this video. It helps me keep sharing more important lessons. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you enjoy this video, please comment 1. If you don't, comment 0 so I know how to improve. Now, let's get started. Number 1. Significant weight loss. Overview of 6 key signs. 6 clues emerge. Advice for the elderly. There comes a moment when you notice the changes. Not all at once, but little by little. A favorite sweater hangs more loosely than before. A belt that once fit perfectly now needs another hole punched. Meals that were once enjoyed with enthusiasm are now met with quiet reluctance. At first, you might think maybe they're just not as hungry these days. Maybe it's just part of getting older. But deep down, something doesn't feel right. Unintentional weight loss in an elderly loved one isn't just a simple shift in appetite. It's often the body's way of whispering that something deeper is happening. As people age, it's natural to lose some muscle mass, but when the pounds start shedding rapidly without effort, it's a sign that the body is struggling. The digestive system might not be absorbing nutrients the way it once did. The ability to process protein effectively declines, leading to muscle wasting and a gradual loss of strength. And this isn't just about physical appearance. It's about the ability to stand, to move, to maintain independence. The body weakens, and suddenly simple tasks like walking across the room or getting out of a chair become daunting challenges. And then there's the appetite itself. Food loses its appeal, taste buds fade, and the signals that once told the brain, "I'm hungry," become weaker. It's not a conscious choice. It's the body preparing for a transition. For families, witnessing this change can feel like an unbearable weight on the heart. You want to fix it. You offer their favorite meals. You bring protein shakes. You urge them to eat just a little more. But sometimes, no matter what you do, the weight continues to slip away. It's a cruel reality, one that feels impossible to accept. Yet, understanding this shift isn't about giving up. It's about making sure that in this stage of life, their comfort comes first. It's in these moments, when the weight loss becomes undeniable and the meals go untouched, that we have to shift our focus. Instead of seeing it as a battle to be won, we must see it as an opportunity to offer love in a different way. If forcing meals isn't the answer, then what is? Comfort, peace, dignity. Instead of pressuring them to eat, we can provide foods that are easier to enjoy. Small portions of their favorite flavors, sips of warm soup, soft fruits, or even just a soothing cup of tea. Hydration becomes more important than heavy meals, and the goal is no longer about gaining weight, but about making sure they feel cared for without stress or struggle. But the most important nourishment doesn't come from food. It comes from presence. It comes from the warmth of a hand held gently, the reassurance of familiar voices, the quiet moments spent together without expectation. This is where true care happens. When we stop focusing on what is being lost and start focusing on what can still be cherished, we shift from sadness to purpose. Maybe they can't eat the way they used to, but they can still enjoy a favorite song playing softly in the background. Maybe they can't sit at the dinner table for long, but they can find comfort in hearing their loved ones talk and laugh nearby. Weight loss may be a sign of the body preparing for its final transition, but that doesn't mean we are powerless. We can still give them the most valuable gift, our love, our patience, and our willingness to walk beside them, making each remaining moment meaningful. Because in the end, it's not about what they eat. It's about how they feel. And the best thing they can feel is the certainty that they are not alone. Number 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. Energy fades fast. Advice for the elderly. There's something heartbreaking about watching someone you love begin to fade. Not in a sudden dramatic way, but in the slow, quiet decline that exhaustion brings. At first, it's subtle. They sit down more often, take longer to finish tasks, seem less interested in activities they once enjoyed. You tell yourself they just need more rest. They'll feel better after a nap. But the truth is, no matter how much they sleep, the fatigue never really goes away. This isn't just normal tiredness. It's the body preparing for a transition. As organ function slows, circulation weakens and energy reserves shrink. Even the simplest movements require immense effort. Walking across the room feels like climbing a mountain. Getting dressed in the morning becomes an exhausting ordeal. Even holding a conversation can drain them. For someone who was once independent and full of life, this can be devastating. The frustration is visible in their eyes, the longing to do more, to be who they used to be. But their bodies simply won't cooperate. For families, this change is painful to witness. You want to encourage them, to help them push through, to keep them active, because you believe movement will keep them strong. But what if the best thing you can do is simply let them rest? Fighting against the fatigue won't stop it. It will only make them feel more defeated. Instead of focusing on what they can no longer do, we must focus on making their moments of wakefulness as peaceful and meaningful as possible. Their energy may be fading, but our love does not have to. If fatigue is the body's way of signaling that it's slowing down, then our role is not to fight it, but to embrace it with understanding and care. This is the time to shift our focus from trying to keep them active to making sure they feel safe, loved, and at peace. Instead of urging them to get up and move, we can adjust their world to meet them where they are. Maybe that means placing a cozy chair by the window where they can still enjoy the sunlight without exerting themselves. Maybe it means sitting beside them quietly, holding their hand, letting them drift in and out of rest without worry. The most difficult part of this process is the emotional toll it takes on both the person experiencing the decline and those who love them. For many seniors, losing their strength feels like losing their independence, their dignity, even their identity. They may feel guilt, embarrassment, or even resentment toward their own body. This is why reassurance is so important. Let them know that their worth has never been tied to what they can do, that simply being here in this moment is enough. Speak to them with kindness. Remind them of their value and allow them the grace to rest without shame. And for families, this is the time to cherish the small moments. If they are awake and alert, make those minutes count. Talk to them, share memories, play their favorite song. If they are tired, let them sleep peacefully, knowing they are not alone. Fatigue may be inevitable, but suffering doesn't have to be. With love, patience, and a focus on comfort, we can turn these final stages into something not filled with fear, but with warmth, dignity, and a deep sense of peace. Number 3. Increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal. Mind drifts off. Advice for the elderly. There is a certain heartbreak in watching someone you love begin to forget. At first it might seem like simple absent-mindedness, forgetting where they place their glasses, repeating a question they asked just moments before, struggling to recall the name of an old friend. But then, the moments of confusion become more frequent, more pronounced. A familiar place suddenly feels unfamiliar. A loved one's face is met with a hesitant, searching gaze. Conversations become scattered, as if their thoughts are slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. It's easy to dismiss these moments at first, to convince yourself that it's just part of aging. But deep down, you begin to realize that something more profound is happening. This is not just forgetfulness. It is a quiet unraveling of the mind, a slow withdrawal from the world they once knew so well. And for the person experiencing it, the fear can be overwhelming. Imagine waking up one day and feeling lost in your own home, or looking at someone you love and struggling to remember their name. The frustration, the sadness, the quiet terror of knowing that something is changing, but not knowing how to stop it. It is a burden no one should bear alone. For family members witnessing this decline, it is one of the most painful experiences imaginable. You tried to ground them in reality, to remind them of what they are forgetting, to pull them back when they begin to drift away. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, they are already too far gone in that moment. And that is where the real challenge lies, not in trying to bring them back to the world they once knew, but in meeting them where they are, in whatever world their mind has created for them. When a loved one begins to withdraw into confusion, our instinct is often to correct, to remind, to pull them back into the present. But sometimes, the greatest act of love is not in forcing them to remember, but in joining them in their world, wherever that may be. If they ask about a parent who passed away long ago, instead of saying, "They're gone, don't you remember?" which may only bring them distress, perhaps it's gentler to say, "Tell me about them. What do you remember most?" If they forget the year or mistake you for someone else, perhaps the best response isn't frustration but patience. Because in those moments, logic isn't what they need. What they need is comfort, security, and the feeling that they are not lost, alone in the fog of their own mind. As difficult as it is to watch someone slip away from their own memories, there is still love to be shared, still moments to hold on to. A song from their youth might bring back a flicker of recognition. The warmth of a hand in theirs might remind them that they are safe. Even if they cannot always find the words, even if their eyes sometimes seem distant, they can still feel love. They can still feel your presence. For families, this is not an easy road. It is painful to be forgotten by someone who once knew you so well. But in these moments, love is not measured by what they remember. It is measured by the patience and kindness you show, by the way you choose to walk with them even when the path is uncertain. Their memories may fade, but your love remains. And in the end, that is what they will feel the most. Number 4, frequent infections and slow healing. Healing slows down. Advice for the elderly. There's a unique kind of heartbreak in watching someone you love become more fragile. It's not just the slower steps or the growing need for assistance. It's the way their body struggles against even the smallest threats. A simple cold lingers longer than it should. A tiny scratch takes weeks to heal. A once healthy person who rarely needed a doctor now seems trapped in an endless cycle of infections and fatigue. And no matter how much care you give, no matter how many medications or treatments they receive, their body no longer responds the way it once did. This is one of the most painful truths about the final stage of life. The immune system weakens, and recovery becomes uncertain. What used to be minor illnesses now become serious setbacks. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, even small wounds can escalate into something life-threatening. The body, once strong and resilient, no longer fights back as fiercely as before. And for the person experiencing this, it can feel like an exhausting battle they never signed up for. Families often face an impossible choice. Do you push for aggressive treatments, hoping to buy more time, Or do you step back, realizing that sometimes the best thing you can offer isn't another round of medication, but peace and comfort? There's no easy answer, but what truly matters in these moments is not just keeping them alive. It's ensuring that whatever time remains is filled with love, dignity, and as little suffering as possible. Because when the body grows tired, when infections become too frequent to fight, the most important medicine isn't found in a prescription. It's found in the presence of those who care. When a loved one enters this stage where infections become frequent, wounds refuse to heal, and the body no longer fights the way it once did, our natural instinct is to do everything possible to keep them here with us. We search for stronger treatments, ask doctors for more aggressive interventions, and hold on to the hope that one more hospital stay, one more round of antibiotics will turn things around. But as difficult as it is to accept, there comes a time when the body is telling us something different. It is not giving up. It is simply growing weary, signaling that what it needs now is not another battle, but peace. This is where love takes on a new form. Instead of focusing on curing, we shift to comforting. We focus on the little things that bring them relief, keeping their hands warm, adjusting pillows so they can breathe easier, offering gentle touches that remind them they are not alone. We stop measuring success by medical improvements and instead measure it by their ease, their calmness, their ability to rest without struggle. Because sometimes the greatest gift we can give is the permission to stop fighting. For families, this realization is one of the hardest things to face. The idea of stepping back from aggressive treatments can feel like giving up. But in truth, it is an act of love. It is choosing to prioritize their comfort over our fear of losing them. It is recognizing that, in the end, what matters most is not how long they stay, but how peacefully they transition. Number 5. Changes in sleep patterns or circadian rhythm. Sleep takes over. Advice for the elderly. At first, it may seem like nothing more than a shift in routine. Nap stretching longer into the afternoon, an early bedtime that creeps earlier and earlier, nights filled with restless awakening. But then, the pattern deepens. The days become a blur of sleep and drowsy wakefulness, with fewer moments of true alertness. Conversations are interrupted by sudden dozing. Meals go untouched as exhaustion takes over, and soon, your loved one spends more time asleep than awake. It happens gradually, so quietly that you may not even realize at first that this isn't just fatigue. It's the body preparing for something more profound. This change in sleep patterns is one of the body's final transitions, a sign that energy is being conserved for what lies ahead. As the brain and central nervous system slow down, the natural circadian rhythm begins to break apart. The body, recognizing its own decline, starts regulating itself in a different way, prioritizing deep rest over wakefulness, withdrawing from the world in a gentle, almost dreamlike manner. Some may even lose track of time, mistaking night for day, unable to distinguish between waking life and sleep. It's not a conscious decision, nor is it something that can be reversed with stimulation or encouragement. It's simply the body's way of easing itself into a place of peace. For families, this can be a difficult adjustment. The instinct is to keep them engaged, to try to wake them up for meals, for conversation, for one more shared moment. But this change is not something to fight. It is something to honor. Forcing wakefulness can bring distress, leaving them more exhausted and disoriented. Instead, this is the time to shift our perspective, to recognize that in this deepening rest, there is a quiet kind of grace. As hard as it is to watch someone you love drift further into sleep, the kindest thing you can do is accept this transition with love and patience. Instead of trying to keep them in the routine they once had, create an environment that honors their body's needs. Let them rest without guilt, without urgency. Dim the lights, play soft music, surround them with the familiar warmth of home. When they are awake, use those moments gently. Speak softly. Hold their hand. Remind them they are not alone. These quiet times may feel fleeting, but they hold more meaning than any forced conversation ever could. Many families fear that too much sleep means they are slipping away faster, and in a way, that is true. But this is not something to fear. It is something to embrace with grace and understanding. The body is no longer focused on movement, on hunger, on the obligations of daily life. Instead, it is shifting toward deep rest, reducing pain, easing discomfort, and preparing for peace. This is why awakening them unnecessarily or urging them to stay awake a little longer often brings only distress. Their body is not failing, it is letting go in the gentlest way possible. Number 6. Major changes in breathing or circulation. Breaths grow faint. Advice for the elderly. There's a certain weight in the air when you notice the change. The steady, effortless breathing that once went unnoticed now becomes something you listen for, something you watch carefully. The pauses between breaths seem longer. Their chest rises and falls in a slow, uneven rhythm. Sometimes they gasp slightly as if trying to catch something that isn't quite there. Other times, they breathe so softly that you find yourself holding your own breath, waiting for the next one to come. Breathing changes in the final stage of life are one of the hardest things for families to witness. It's an undeniable sign that the body is beginning to conserve its energy, redirecting its focus inward. The heart isn't pumping as strongly, circulation slows, and the body prioritizes only the most essential function. Hands and feet grow cold. Lips may take on a bluish hue, and simple movements leave them breathless. You may notice them needing to sit upright more often, struggling to find a position where their lungs feel less heavy. It's not just discomfort. It's the body signaling that it is beginning to slow down. For family members, these moments bring a sense of helplessness. You want to fix it, to help them breathe easier, to make it all go away. But sometimes, there is no way to change what is happening. And that is where love must take a new form, not in trying to fight against the inevitable, but in making sure that every remaining breath is surrounded by comfort, warmth, and peace. Because even when words fade, even when breath becomes shallow, the presence of a loving hand, a soothing voice, or a quiet moment together can bring more comfort than any medical intervention ever could. When a loved one's breathing begins to change, it's natural to feel overwhelmed with fear and sadness. Every slow inhale, every pause between breaths, feels like a painful reminder of what's coming. But in these moments, the most powerful thing we can do is shift our focus from trying to change the outcome to making their journey as peaceful as possible. This is not about fixing or prolonging, but about ensuring that they feel safe, comfortable, and, most importantly, loved. There are simple yet meaningful ways to bring comfort. Keeping the room cool, using a fan or humidifier, and propping them up with pillows can help ease labored breathing. Soft blankets, warm hands, and familiar scents can create a sense of security. Gentle music, whispered reassurances, or simply sitting in silence beside them can bring peace in ways words cannot. Even if they can't respond, they can still feel your presence. They may not be able to say it, but in those final moments, your love is what they hold on to the most. For families, this is an excruciating time. The desire to do something, to intervene, to stop what's happening, is overwhelming. But sometimes, the greatest act of love is allowing them to rest, to let go without fear, knowing they are not alone. It is in these moments that love speaks the loudest, not in desperate attempts to keep them here, but in the quiet, unwavering presence that says, "You are safe. You are loved. You can rest now." And when that final breath does come, as painful as it is, take comfort in knowing that you did everything you could, not by holding on too tightly, but by making sure that in their last moments they felt nothing but love, warmth, and the deepest sense of peace. Final reflection on love and acceptance. Peaceful surrender matters. Advice for the elderly. Life teaches us that every transition, even the most difficult ones, carries a lesson in love, patience, and acceptance. As we grow older, we begin to understand that not every battle needs to be fought. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in surrendering with grace. The body changes, the mind slows, and sleep deepens, not as a sign of weakness, but as a quiet preparation for peace. These moments remind us to cherish the present, to embrace stillness, and to find meaning in simplicity. The value of life is not measured by how long we stay awake or how much we accomplish, but by the love we share and the comfort we give to those around us. Whether we are caring for others or walking our own path of aging, we must remember that peace comes not from resisting time, but from accepting it with open hands and an open heart. Let us honor life's natural rhythm, not with fear, but with gratitude, knowing that every phase, even the final one, is filled with opportunities to love, to be loved, and to leave behind a legacy of warmth, dignity, and deep. Thank you for following us till the end. Don't forget to show some love by clicking the like button and subscribing. This supports the channel and allows me to continue creating content for you. Leave your thoughts or comments below. Feel free to express yourself and stay positive. See you next time.